Ej, dobra, nie wiem czy Storm farmi content i wyświetlenia, bo mu ciężko, czy kurwa coś jest na rzeczy, ale chcę to sprawdzić. Następna gra From Software zostanie być może zapowiedziana już niedługo. What the shit, co? Jedyna możliwość w tym temacie, no nie wierzę w nic innego, to jest po prostu dodatek do Armored Core'a albo Armored Core 7, no ale nie wierzę w to, że zaraz zobaczymy jakieś mroczne dark fantasy od Miyagiego. No nie ma opcji takiej. Dobra, oglądamy to.
Alright, what's going on, guys? We are at that point again in the video game cycle where the major blockbuster releases have wrapped up for a time. And specifically for the purposes
Czekamy na
of this channel, we're
Game
looking at From
Awards.
Software, Elden Ring DLC.
Game Awards to będzie taka bomba, o Jezus Maria, 12 grudnia zapraszam serdecznie na streamka z gamingowych Oscarów. Chyba się nawet odpierdolę w jakiś garniturek. Nie mogę się doczekać, aż Wukong dostanie grę roku i napluje IGN-owi prosto w mordę. Ale to będzie piękne. A w moich marzeniach to przyśniło mi się, że Stellar Blade dostaje grę roku i wtedy wszyscy deweloperzy myślą sobie, o Jezu, dobra, to tworzymy więcej gier z takimi postaciami głównymi, ale to byłby piękny czas dla gamingu,
Has come and gone. The marketing is done for that. There is no more content coming out for that game. So now we find ourselves looking towards the future, asking, what's coming next? And when will we find out about it? Well, today we're going to try to answer those questions and go down the rabbit hole once again of some good old speculation. Because we are coming up on that time of the year once again.
Ty zerknąłem na napisy i mnie rozpało. Zejdź ponownie do dziury jakiegoś starego. YouTube to jest kurwa taka petarda. Jak ja się cieszę, że ja znam angielski.
Good old speculation. Because we are coming up on that time of the year once again, where the major announcements of what's coming in the next year are about to take place. But as always, as we get into everything today, if you want to stay up to date on all things From Software, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And now let's begin. Let's start off today with a bit of recent buzz, talking about some rumors about what might come next. There has been a lot of speculation that our next release by From Software will be more Armored Core content. And we have a lot of reason to think that, as they have directly confirmed that they're continuing with the Armored Core franchise. That AC6 was a new revival for it, and there will be more games to come. From Software still list
Ej, Armored Core jest naprawdę dobrą grą, w sensie jeżeli ktoś lubi mechy, ale nawet jak nie lubi, bo ja nie lubię, to mi się dobrze grało. Ta gra ma tak płynny kombat, że to jest aż porąbane. Super przyjemna jest.
Design as one of their priorities in hiring new artists, and have straight up said that with AC6 they now know where to take it and what to do next. Now, something we're going to talk about more later on in this video is that we have reason to believe that From Software is going back to annual releases. Elden Ring dropped in 2022, Armored Core 6 came out in 2023, and the Elden Ring DLC came out in 2024. So
I co, w 25 coś mają wydać? No oni teraz się rozdzielili trochę, nie? Na różne teamy, różnych dyrektorów i każdy coś tam działa. Wyobraźcie sobie, że teraz From Software zacznie robić z każdego gatunku jakieś gierki i nagle zrobią Hollow Knight Silksonga przed Silksongiem. Ty, Metroidvania od Fromu byłaby cudowna, ale nie wiem, czy by w to poszli, pewnie nie.
For a new release to happen in 2025, with how many resources they pumped into Elden Ring initially, I don't think there's been enough time to create a new full game. So Armored Core DLC would fit nicely on that release schedule, and there have been some rumors lately.
Kurde, ale jeżeli byśmy faktycznie mieli jedno wydanie na rok i Armored Core 6 byłby w 25 DLC albo Armored Core 7, whatever, to następna gra jakakolwiek taka bardziej w moim klimacie byłaby w 26 dopiero. O Jezu.
SteamDB. Now, if you don't know what SteamDB is, it's a public platform that anyone can view, where you can
Steam
see internal
database,
file
no?
updates to the PC builds of games. We've used it to predict Elden Ring updates, even the Elden Ring DLC, fairly accurately, if you know what to look for. Now, over the last week, Armored Core...
Kurde, ja pamiętam jak dosłownie przez pół roku codziennie żeśmy sprawdzali, co tam się zmienia w tym Eldenie, nie? O mać, taka podjara była na to. Tak się sprawdzało te pliki.
Core 6 has undergone some internal updates, undergoing back-end development work, and what caught a lot of people's eye here is that you can see some of the updates were done to a DLC package. Now, a lot of people jumped at that immediately and said, oh, there's our sign for DLC. But hang on. If we actually check the number for this DLC package, we can see that it's the OST and art book that's been updated. Now, that was a telltale sign of the DLC about to drop for Elden Ring, but I think what's happening here is a different story. And that's
Czemu?
because a few months ago, they actually dropped bonus tracks for the Armored Core 6 soundtrack, and those came out over on streaming services. So I think what's most likely...
No nie, no to tutaj faktycznie chyba to pokrywa ten temat. To raczej nie jest to. Ale faktycznie, jeżeli często tak się zdarza, że jeżeli artbooki i soundtracki są uzupełniane i nie ma żadnych innych znaków, to znaczy, że czyli po coś one są. A skoro tego nie ma w grze, to znaczy, że ten element growy musi zostać dodany, nie? W jakiejś formie. Ale tutaj chyba to nie jest ten case. A, no i właśnie jeszcze warto przypomnieć, że Armored Core będzie chyba uczestniczył w tym Secret Level, tak? Serialu od Amazonu? Tak.
OST that was a downloadable package for pre-ordering the game, just actually in context of the game itself. I don't think this is a slam dunk for DLC, but it still could be, and it shows they are still working on the game, which is always good. We also have Secret Level coming out later this year, which is a video game anthology series on Amazon that'll be featuring an episode about Armored Core, starring Keanu Reeves.
Stary, Armored Core, gra od Fromu z Keanu Reevesem w roli głównej. Przecież to będzie tak dobre.
Which is some very high level marketing right there. Also another sign that they're probably not done with Armored Core.
To wy nie wiedzieliście o tym? Przecież on w trailerze był.
Series on Amazon that'll be featuring an episode about Armored Core, starring Keanu Reeves, which is some very high level marketing right there. Also another sign that they're probably not done with Armored Core just yet. Now if Armored Core isn't their next project, then there's also a chance we see a smaller scale project, kind of like Sekiro, that isn't...
Ja bym to sobie chciał właśnie wymanifestować tutaj. Poproszę o małą grę Fromu, w której kombat jest turbo zaawansowany i można zostać absolutnym mistrzem i jest to popierdzielonie trudna gierka. Chciałbym coś w stylu Sekiro, niekoniecznie Sekiro 2, ale coś takiego, co jest fajne do grania, fajne do zraszowania i trudne do wymasterowania. No, taki jednodniowa gra, w którą będziesz grał kilkadziesiąt razy. W sensie teoretycznie Elden też może być jednodniową grą, ale wiecie o co mi chodzi. Chciałbym coś takiego.
Elden Ring isn't Dark Souls, isn't Armored Core, but still a From Software RPG. Miyazaki's really been driving home the point in interviews lately that there's going to be a lot of games not directed by him coming out of the studio, allowing new directors to get their time to shine, where we can see a new take on From Software. Personally, I would be really excited for that because I want to see new, fresh ideas from them, because we don't know...
Wszystko super, fajnie. Armored Core nawet był chyba reżyserowany i kierowany przez inną osobę, więc widać, że potrafią i mają różne talenty, nie tylko Miyazakiego w studiu. Natomiast to, co jest kluczowe, żeby tych projektów nie zrobiło się za dużo i żeby From Software nam się nie przerodził w p***olony Ubisoft, tak? Ostrożnie, z rozwagą i żeby to logo From Software w tych wszystkich trailerach znaczyło o jakości.
Fresh ideas from them because we don't know what we could get. From Software has always been at their best when they're experimental, and I don't think that's about to change. Now, realistically, if we are to get a game like this next, I personally wouldn't expect it until at least late 2025. If they did have a separate team working on this that wasn't working on Elden Ring DLC or Armored Core, then that gives them about a 3-year dev cycle, which is still small, but enough.
Znaczy, pamiętajmy o jednej rzeczy. W momencie, gdy Armored Core był robiony, oni już pracowali nad DLC do Eldena. To były dwa różne teamy. Więc jeżeli był wypuszczony Armored Core, a eldeńskie DLC dalej było tworzone, to ten team od Armored Core'a też coś robił. Jeżeli nie robił Armored Core'a, to co on robił, nie? Ale raczej robił Armored Core'a, umówmy się, coś nowego.
Touched on the ideas of what could be coming in the immediate future. When might we see it for the first time? Now, as we said at the beginning, we're coming up on the holiday season, and around this time of the year is when all the big game award shows take place. These are typically when the biggest announcements of upcoming games happen, and of course now with From Software's stopping power in their name, they are the prime candidates for that. So let's take a look at what we have coming up. Now, to no one's surprise, the biggest game show of the year, the Game Awards, is coming soon. It is one of the most watched events of the year across...
I to w ogóle będzie 10-lecie Game Awardsów. Grubszy event.
Across the entire internet, and is the absolute prime time for marketing new games. When it comes to this specific event in 2024, Elden Ring DLC will absolutely be up for a few awards, which means there's a pretty high chance that Miyazaki and the team will be in attendance. However, as we saw last year, Armored Core 6 was up for an award, won Best Action Game, but Miyazaki was not there to claim that award. most likely due to them being too busy on Elden Ring DLC. However, I think this year is a different story. As we talked about earlier, the two most likely candidates for what they have next on their release schedule would not be directed by Miyazaki. Since Elden Ring DLC finished development, he's been much more active at game shows such as Summer Games Fest, so I think there's a good chance they have something to show now. As we've seen in the past, from soft...
Wyobrażasz sobie, że Miyazaki wychodzi i mówi: Jeff, I have something to show. I ściąga spodnie. Nie, ale kurwa i nowa gierka. Taka kurwa bomba by była.
and Jeff Keighley, the host of the Game Awards, have a very good relationship. When they have a new announcement to make, they do tend to support Keighley's shows. Now, of course, they were not there in 2023, but Armored Core 6 had just released, and that was only 2 months before the Game Awards, so the marketing for that game was still in full effect. They weren't ready to show Elden Ring DLC at that time. But again, 2024 is likely to be a different story. Since Elden Ring DLC released back in June, that's a 6-month gap. Plenty of time for them to have some kind of presentation on their next project. So I do think there's a pretty good chance we're going to see an announcement at the Game Awards, whether that's for Armored Core DLC, their next smaller scale RPG, or something that takes us by surprise completely.
Ej, jak to jest w game devie? Ktoś się orientuje, czy oni na przykład sobie robią jakieś takie większe wakacje pomiędzy premierami, czy w pewnym momencie, jak już wydają grę, to mają takie, no to co, następny tytuł. To mnie zastanawia, czy oni na przykład stwierdzają, dobra, przez miesiąc nic nie robimy.
But there is another thing we have to consider, something that has been humorously dubbed the Random Tuesday effect, where From Software does not follow any rhyme or reason to their announcements and randomly drops them with no warning.
Różnie, aktualny mój projekt ma 2 miesiące wakacji. Okej, czyli robią sobie czasami jakieś przerwy. Coś ja uważam, że to jest zasłużone jak najbardziej, nie? Jak zrobisz jakiś dobry release. Jedyne co to tam patchować to ewentualnie.
Something that has been humorously dubbed the Random Tuesday effect.
Mojang pracuje średnio 5 minut rocznie, więc chyba zależy. Ej, no ale były jakieś pingwiny dodawane, tak? Czy coś?
Thing we have to consider. Something that has been humorously dubbed the Random Tuesday effect, where From Software does not follow any rhyme or reason to their announcements and randomly drops them with no warning. And that is a very real phenomenon.
From Software ma totalną taką zasadę, poza tym jednym razem z DLC Eldenowym, że lubią na Game Awardsach ogłaszać rzeczy. Oni uwielbiają się z Jeffem Keighley'm. Oni zawsze u niego coś ogłaszali. Po Dark Soulsach 3 ogłaszali tam Sekiro, po Sekiro ogłaszali tam Eldena, także no...
We saw it with pretty much everything post-Elden Ring, aside from the initial Armored Core trailer at the Game Awards in 2022. And the reason they can do that is because their name now has stopping power. It doesn't matter when, it doesn't matter where. If From Software makes an announcement, people are going to see it and they're going to be interested. So that's entirely possible that they just randomly drop their next announcement with no warning through a Twitter and Instagram post or something on their YouTube.
Mogą, ale trzeba też myśleć o tym inaczej. Jeżeli jesteś From Software i faktycznie samodzielnie jesteś w stanie zrobić totalnie szum wokół siebie i nie potrzebujesz Game Awardsów, to jeśli i tak zrobisz to na Game Awardsach, to zamplifikujesz jeszcze ten efekt hype'u mimo wszystko. Jeżeli ktoś tak duży jeszcze do tego się pojawi na tak dużym evencie. Zresztą tak było chyba z Kojimą, nie? Kurwa, przecież on też u Jeffa dużo rzeczy zapowiadał i to zawsze raczej z bardzo szerokim odbiorem się spotykało. Jak produkcja jest dobrze zorganizowana, to różne działy w różnym czasie pracują nad produktem. Przykładowo designerzy kończą pierwsi, wskakują w etap koncepcyjny następnej gry, a potem stopniowo kolejne działy. Czaje, okej, czyli no jeżeli no tam na pewno jest organizacja w japońskim studiu, umówmy się. Więc oni raczej tak schematycznie do tego podchodzą, jakby można było coś obstawiać.
Their next announcement with no warning through a Twitter and Instagram post or something on their YouTube channel. And over the past 3 years, that has actually been more common than dropping their trailers at game shows. Even so, I would bet on this year's Game Awards. The timing is just too perfect, if they are going to have a release in 2025. Now, if that doesn't happen, then as we always see, there's going to be a marketing break until Lunar New Year. And I wouldn't get your hopes up until about mid-February. That's just how it goes. And if that doesn't happen, the big push after that is around summertime when GDC takes place. We saw this with Elden Ring DLC when the marketing push for that really picked up around that time, starting around March. But that's about the best timeline we can look at for now. With all that though, I don't think it's going to be a long wait. What also happens around this time of year are leaks. Insiders are going to pick up wind of release schedules. The holiday season is when this happens as well. Whether or not you agree with the ethics of leaks or think it's a bad thing for the industry, it happens regardless. There was just a leak yesterday that an Elden Ring Definitive Edition could be coming to Switch 2.
To jest w ogóle jakiś absurd. Jeżeli faktycznie na Switcha 2 ma wyjść Elden, to ja nie chcę wiedzieć, czy to będzie działało w 5 czy w 15 FPS-ach, ale może być to trochę problematyczne.
As always, take it with a grain of salt, but I'm just giving you an example of what happens. Either way, when do you think we're going to see From Software's next game? Personally, I'm optimistic that we could see it in the next month or two, most likely at the Game Awards. Are you
Nie
team
no, coś na pewno zobaczymy na Game Awardsach, ale wydaje mi się, że to raczej będzie jakieś armored core'owe, żeby po prostu zapchać dziurę troszeczkę. Trochę nas zaspokoić. A mnie to nie zaspokoi niestety. Bo tak jak Armored Core jest fajne, to nie jest gra, na którą ja jakkolwiek czekam z wypiekami na twarzy, nie?
TGA, or are you Team Random Tuesday? Y'all let me know down below. With all that though, if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like on it and subscribe if you want to stay up to date on all things From Software. But with all that, I will catch you in the next one.
Czyli mamy film od Zeostorma na zasadzie muszę sobie ad revenue zbudować. Sprytne, ale przynajmniej skłoniło nas to do jakiejś dyskusji o nadchodzących grach Fromu, prawda? Także cóż, łapa w górę, macie linka.